On October 10, 1855, a jury in Callaway County returned a verdict. The defendant was a 19-year-old enslaved woman named Celia. The charge was murder in the first degree. The case was styled State of Missouri versus Celia. It was heard in the Circuit Court of Callaway County. The presiding judge was William Augustus Hall. The victim was her enslaver, Robert Newsom. He died on June 23, 1855. His body was burned in a cabin fireplace. The jury deliberated briefly. They returned a single word: guilty. Sentence was fixed by law: death by hanging. The execution date was set for December 21, 1855, in Fulton, Missouri. No reversal followed. No pardon was issued. By the time the sheriff prepared the scaffold, the legal question had already been decided. Missouri law did not extend a woman's right to resist rape to an enslaved woman. That ruling did not appear in bold print. It appeared in refusal, in jury instructions denied. 5 years earlier, Celia had been purchased at approximately 14 years old. The purchase was legal. The ownership was recorded. What happened between 1850 and June 1855 would become testimony, and testimony would become evidence. The verdict is easy to read in the court minutes. Understanding how it was reached requires returning to the plantation. Because before the hanging, there was a cabin. And inside that cabin, on one June night, Robert Newsom did not leave alive. Callaway County, Missouri, 1855. A slave state. Mixed agriculture. Small and mid-sized slaveholdings common. Robert Newsom was a documented slaveholder in the 1850 Census slave schedule. He owned several enslaved individuals. Celia was among them. Court testimony established she was purchased around 1850. She was approximately 14 at the time. Witnesses later testified that Newsom built her a separate cabin. It was located away from the main house. He visited it at night. In her confession, Celia stated he had forced himself upon her repeatedly over 5 years. She bore at least one child. Some accounts suggest 2. Under Missouri law in 1855, enslaved people were property. They could testify in limited circumstances. They could not legally refuse their owners. Defense attorneys attempted to invoke a Missouri statute allowing women to resist sexual assault. The statute existed, but the court ruled it did not apply to a slave resisting her master. Judge Hall refused the proposed jury instruction. The record reflects that refusal. The system functioned as designed. Ownership conferred access. Law protected ownership. On June 23, 1855, Newsom entered Celia's cabin again. She later stated she warned him not to come inside. He entered anyway. By morning, he was missing. Search parties formed. Ashes were examined. Fragments of bone were found in her fireplace. The structure that had protected him was about to prosecute her, and the prosecution would rely on her own words. The indictment charged that Celia feloniously, willfully, and of her malice aforethought killed Robert Newsom. Testimony began in October 1855. Multiple witnesses took the stand. According to statements presented in court, Celia struck Newsom with a stick as he entered her cabin. He fell. She struck him again. She then placed his body in the fireplace. Wood was added. The remains were reduced. The prosecution emphasized concealment. Burning suggested intent. The defense focused on repeated sexual coercion. They argued self-defense. They cited Missouri law regarding a woman's right to resist assault. Judge Hall declined to extend that protection to an enslaved woman resisting her owner. The jury was instructed without that language. That omission shaped the verdict. The jury consisted entirely of white men. They deliberated briefly on October 10th. They returned a conviction for first-degree murder. Under Missouri statute, first-degree murder required death. Sentencing discretion was limited. A motion for new trial was filed. It was denied. An appeal was attempted to the Missouri Supreme Court. Procedural deficiencies prevented review. The legal record is structured and formal. It does not describe tone. It does not describe fear. It records charge. It records refusal. It records verdict. And once recorded, the sentence moved forward automatically. Celia was held in custody in Fulton, awaiting execution. The jail ledger recorded her confinement. The court calendar recorded the date. On December 21, 1855, the sentence was carried out in Callaway County. The sheriff supervised the hanging. The court minutes confirmed the action. Robert Newsom's estate moved into probate shortly after his death. An inventory was filed. Livestock, tools, land, and enslaved persons were listed. Celia's name does not appear in the final asset distribution. By December, she was no longer property. The state had removed her from the ledger. For decades, the file remained in county storage. Indictment, jury instructions, motion for new trial, execution order. Paper folded into paper. Clerk stamps fading. In the late 20th century, the case file was located and reconstructed from surviving Callaway County court records. Transcripts were compared against docket entries. The refused jury instruction was preserved in the record. In 1991, those documents were formally compiled and published under the title The Trial of Celia, a Slave. The publication did not add new testimony. It reproduced what the court had already written: indictment language, judicial rulings, execution confirmation. The refusal to extend Missouri's rape resistance statute to an enslaved woman was visible in the preserved instruction. The language was clear. The exclusion was deliberate. What had once been a routine county prosecution became a documented legal record accessible beyond Callaway County. The scaffold was temporary. The paperwork was not. By the end of the 20th century, the case file could be read in full. Charge, refusal, verdict, execution. The record had survived intact. Robert Newsom died on June 23, 1855. His estate entered probate in Callaway County. Assets were distributed. He faced no trial. His death ended his legal exposure. The system that protected him functioned fully. It prosecuted Celia. It executed Celia. On December 21, 1855, in Fulton, Missouri, Celia was hanged. There is no Freedmen's Bureau record for her. She did not survive to emancipation in 1865. Her death predates Reconstruction by 10 years. The consequence in this case was not imprisonment of an owner. It was historical permanence. The State of Missouri versus Celia remains in court archives. It is cited in legal scholarship. It is taught as a landmark in the study of slavery law. The denied jury instruction is still discussed. The refusal is still analyzed. The verdict is still read. Her name appears in law reviews. His appears in probate records. The legal system of Missouri executed her in 1855. The documentation preserved that fact. No reversal was issued. No pardon followed. No ambiguity remains. On December 21, 1855, in Callaway County, Missouri, the sentence of the court was carried out.